Yes.
There we
There we
go.
go.
There we
Okay.
go. There we go.
Right.
So yeah,
So,
so is it okay if I pass it over to you and you can talk to
yeah,
us about
sure.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
So just a very brief introduction. I think you've been a wonderful part of our community. You've contributed in so many different ways, which I really appreciate.
Thank you.
And looking forward to doing another workshop on journaling, and this time leaning towards kindness. So over to you.
Okay. Well, it sort of follows on quite well from everything that's been spoken about already. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about kindness, and then we'll spend 10 minutes or so journaling. Now, yesterday, my mother had a hospital appointment and I offered to take her. And as I wasn't allowed into the hospital area because of the COVID restrictions, I said I'd wait outside, and she was quite worried because it was cold. And I said, no, that's fine. Don't worry. I'll go for a walk round. So I went for a walk round the block and thinking about Mindfulness Day, and came back in front of the hospital. And as I stood there watching people come and go, and they were all, wearing their masks and all, wrapped up in their coats, I thought, simple acts of kindness being carried on, right in front of us every day, if we, if we choose to look. For example, I was watching as a Red Cross car pulled up, and the volunteer got out and went round to the passenger side to help out a very elderly patient. And I was struck by his manner, because he was chatting to the lady as she got out, helping her out. And I heard her laugh. And even though she was clearly having difficulty walking, and he even helped her to adjust her face mask before she went into the hospital area. And he seemed very kind, and he was taking his time, and it was lovely to see. He wasn't in a rush, and he obviously clearly enjoyed what he was doing. And then a little while later, someone else came out, and she hugged her parents who'd been sitting waiting for her outside in the cold. And I heard her apologize to them and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been in there for such a long time. There was a queue, I had to wait. And they said, oh, don't worry, that's fine. Even though they'd clearly been sitting on the bench for quite a long time, because I'd seen them when I'd dropped my mum off. And it struck me again, and I was thinking about it. I was thinking, there's just, kindness is just everywhere, and it's in the little gestures that we see. It's not always in the great big gestures, but we do have to take time to look and notice. And as Shamash said earlier, many of us would love to do some great big act of kindness to make the world a better place, and we tend to think this has to be something huge, something really big, a huge donation of money or some grand scheme, setting up a hospital, and we often underestimate how much we can make a difference, just ourselves, starting with those little acts of kindness towards ourselves. We can't nourish other people if we're undernourished ourselves, as it were. It always makes me smile on the aircraft when they always say, put in the event of loss of cabin pressure, your mask will drop down. Please tend to your own mask first before helping other people. And when you first hear that, it does seem counterintuitive, but then it really does make sense, because you wouldn't be able to help anyone if you were completely passed out. So the same comes with kindness. If we haven't been treated with kindness, and if we don't treat ourselves with kindness, then it's very difficult for us to show any kindness towards other people. Since March, we've been hearing a lot about creating these, social bubbles that we can live in to take care of each other. And I'd like to use this image of a bubble and extend it to create kindness bubbles. Now, these kindness bubbles don't have any boundaries. So, you can have more than 5 or 6 people in your kindness bubble, and they can keep expanding forever, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'd like to think of the idea that each kindness bubble begins with us. We create it, and we're at the center of our own bubble. To make that bubble grow, we have to be kind to ourselves first. And this creates a very strong sense of well-being, and we can expand the bubble to include others around us. As in with the loving kindness meditation, we can extend it to friends and family, pets, animals, strangers, the environment, and all the living things on the planet. And these acts of kindness can be very small acts of kindness. They don't need to be huge acts of kindness, because just one small act of kindness can extend and grow. So this idea of this, beautiful bubble of kindness expanding out to include everything and to include the whole world. And if each of us does that, then we can almost, if you'd like to try and picture the bubble expanding and spreading out, and everybody else's bubble, that they're also creating a kindness bubble, is also spreading out and expanding. And eventually all this kindness will merge and become much more beautiful, and a beautiful kind energy, and towards each other and towards everything. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a kindness bubble, and we're going to do it through journaling. And it's a little bit like, imagine like the meditation, but doing it through writing, through our thoughts, which follows on beautifully from Elspeth's meditation, because I think it involves the same concept. That this time first we're going to think of the act of self-kindness, and journaling is an act of self-kindness because it's a way of getting in touch with our thoughts and feelings. A lot of the ladies that come to the journaling group that I do, they say, well, this time of the week is my act of self-care. It's my self-care time, so I can connect with myself and thoughts and feelings. So if you've got a pen and paper handy, you're going to need that now. You can get that ready. Mine here. And then just going to take a little bit of time. I'd like you to imagine yourself at the center of this small bubble. It's your bubble that you're creating. And you're going to think of ways that you can be kind to yourself from today, or even starting right now. And you're going to make this kindness bubble grow. So you're going to begin by writing down things that you can do for yourself. And it could be something very, very simple, like putting on a pair of thick woolly socks on a cold day to keep your toes warm, or giving yourself time to read before bed. And starting with yourself, you write down as many ideas as you can think of. And if you can't think of many, then just one. And then move on to include ways that you can be kind to other people. Again, start with the people that are in your social bubble inside your family. How can you show kindness towards them? A simple act like phoning somebody to ask how they are, sending a card, sending an email. And then after you've finished doing that, you're going to move on to other people around you, people like strangers. And it could even be someone that you see regularly, but you don't really have much contact with, like somebody in the petrol station. And think of a way that you could show kindness towards them, like smiling, stopping for conversation, just gifting that time, your time. And then moving out to living things and creatures and the environment. Again, it doesn't need to be some huge environmental act. It can be something as simple as spending more time recycling or consuming less. So what we'll do is we'll journal for 10 minutes, and then at the end we'll take a little bit of time for reflection and see if anybody would like to share. We'll do that in silence. If you want to put some music on, then feel free to do so. I don't want to touch anything, because if I've got this power of being the host, then I don't want to mess up the whole webinar. So I won't touch any. I'm not going to touch any buttons. Okay, so let's start now and create our bubbles of kindness. And might even help just to sketch a little stick man or lady or person in the middle, and then go from there. Okay. Okay, just one more minute. Okay, so that's reached the end of that little journaling session there, journaling for kindness, making the kindness bubble. Can you still hear me, Shamash? I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been journaling away.
Been journaling away, you're very quiet.
Yeah, it's been really fun actually. Love the idea of the kindness bubble.
Yeah.
And beautiful
Yeah.
theme for kindness. I'm just seeing if there's any questions before I start asking
Okay.
my questions. There's some links there. Yeah, no, I was wondering. So, can you say a little bit about your group? You said you do journaling with some ladies or something.
Yes. Well, it all started from it actually started on World Mindfulness Day when I did the talk, and then people showed quite a lot of interest in that. So I set up an introductory workshop online, which people attended, and then they still wanted more. So I set up a 4-week workshop where we explored things like finding your flow, how to deal with difficult emotions that arise from journaling. What else do we do? Using your journal for setting intentions, and also a little bit of reflection, how to reflect mindfully on your journal. So all of the key pillars of mindfulness flow throughout the journaling practice. And now we meet twice a week. It's on a Monday morning and a Thursday evening online, and we do some journaling. We have a chat, and we journal, and then we do a little meditation to close. So it's been really good fun.
Yeah, I never heard of this idea of group journaling, but it makes so much sense. Is it something you've made up, or have you heard about it before?
No, it's just sort of happened. It's just sort of grown.
Love it.
Yeah, it's funny, really. It's just sort of, all the things you try and think of, all the ideas you try and come up with, and then something just sort of grows naturally. And I thought because I've journaled quite a lot in my own life, and gradually through doing mindfulness, I've decided to naturally incorporating mindfulness techniques and ideas and reflections, stepping back a little bit. I've found that's been really, really helpful, and which is why I offered to give that talk on Mindfulness Day. And then the feedback that I've been getting is people have found it very helpful. And also journeying in the group, I mean, people are welcome to leave their cameras off or the audio off, but some people started with the cameras off, and then gradually over the weeks they've actually just joined in. So it's been really, really helpful.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that, and I enjoyed the theme today of you said, I think, kindness to self, to those close to us, and then strangers. So gave a nice theme when I was doing my journaling, and ended up getting ideas and stuff. But in a way, because I'm thinking that there's things that we often do are recommended to do on our own. So it's like mindfulness, gratitude, journaling. They come to mind, but all of them can be done in groups, can't they? You could obviously practice meditation in groups.
Yeah.
You can do the journaling now in groups you've shown, and then gratitude practice. I'm guessing you may be doing that in your group as well.
Yes. Yeah. We say to people to try and incorporate that into the journaling, especially if you've had a particularly difficult day and your journaling's ended up being quite negative, which it can do at times, and just to sort of try and end on a positive note. But what I've found through being part of the daily mindfulness community, for example, is I don't know, you just get it's sort of it just gives you that sense of community that, and it's fun to do things together and you support each other. And it's also a little bit of accountability as well, because as you said earlier, sometimes you don't, you make a promise yourself, yeah, I'm going to get up every day and meditate, but you don't do it. But then when you've got a little group to go to and, a few jokes here and there and things, it's lovely and it's supportive.
Yeah, and
So,
that's a
yeah.
really good point. Yeah, the social thing is so important. So if you can link that with journaling, it's very
Yeah.
powerful. So Elspeth says, that's wonderful, Jacqueline. Thank you. Love the idea of our kindness bubbles merging. I came up with a lot more self-care ideas. So thank you for encouraging that.
Oh, that's
Emma
good. Thank
says,
you.
I love the idea of mini journaling too. I get some benefit from journaling and I take the time to do it, but it doesn't happen enough as it takes me half an hour to write 3 pages the artist's way.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a mashup of the tiny habits you talked about earlier and the journaling.
Yeah.
It's a good mashup.
Yeah.
Vidya says, I like the idea of more and more bubbles emanating from the bubble of kindness towards self. They're expansive. That's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christine says, lots of kindness bubbles all merging and becoming one huge mindfulness bubble.
Yeah, it's good. It's like the idea of the ripples joining as well. That we often use that idea in
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
just
ripples is not, it's a phenomenon of nature, isn't it? Bubbles
yeah,
as well as ripples. You just
yeah,
literally just drop something in some water. You get these amazing
yeah,
circles
yeah,
that I don't know if you've ever done that, where you go to a big lake or something and you could throw a stone right in the middle or somewhere, and even it just goes out so far. It's amazing.
yeah,
Stephanie
yeah.
says, thanks, Jacqueline. Love the idea of group journaling. The kindness bubbles are a super idea. And I like the story you shared about kindness being everywhere. That was a really good story. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.